What is going on, everybody? How is everybody doing today? Welcome back here today to another episode of the Just Ballin podcast. And I did ask you guys on Twitter a couple days ago, give me some hot takes for the 2025 NBA season that I was going to react to for a video over on my Sauce channel. Now, I was only going to choose 10 of them, right? I was only going to choose 10 of them. And I got, at this moment I'm recording this episode of the Just Ballin podcast, 397 replies and probably over 400 with the quote tweets as well. So obviously I wasn't going to be able to get to all of those, and I won't be able to get to all of them today, but I did want to react to more of them, maybe in a rather quicker fashion, so I could just touch on some of your guys' hot takes going into next season and just kind of answer more of them than I was able to get to in the episode. So yeah, this will be YouTube podcast format. If you guys are on YouTube, I'd really appreciate it if you checked out the podcast over on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. I got my positional rankings finishing up over there. You're obviously getting the season previews and then some other just podcast exclusives on that platform as well. And if you guys are listening on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, make sure you go check over the YouTube channel and subscribe to that for some YouTube exclusives over here or over there as well. So yeah, let's just kind of get right into this. And obviously there's some that I answered in the YouTube video that I will not answer today. I answered the Kings going to the Western Conference Finals one. HQ mentions Darius Garland returns to 2022 form and makes the All-Star game alongside Donovan Mitchell. Not a bad hot take. This is like a medium take. Maybe, I don't know if this is a cold take. It's not a spicy hot take because Garland, I think, could definitely revert back to what he was just a few years ago. He was banged up this year. He had the jaw issue, and just kind of reading reports on that, like, when you have that injury, you are very scared of re-aggravating it. So he was definitely very scared of maybe driving to the rim at times, and that could really affect your confidence and your shot diet. Now, I would have liked for him to perform a little bit more consistently in the playoffs because he wasn't good really against Orlando at times in round number one. His three-point shot was falling, but that was maybe it at times. I thought he was just kind of inefficient at attacking the rim. Mid-range didn't look great, and just not making, I feel like, open passes from what I remember from that series. So Garland was definitely had a down year last year and was disappointing as a whole. I don't think he's going to be an all-star. I think it would be tough for him to make it unless the Cavs are the 1 seed, but I think he's going to return to 2022 form, so I agree with that. Next one we have RJ Barrett, 2025 All-Star, and Raptors secure a top 6 seed from Barnes Muse. I disagree with both of these. I don't think the Raptors are a top 8 team in the Eastern Conference this year. I mean, just going through the teams right now, that puts them 4th in the division because I like Boston, Philly, and New York over them. If you go to the Central Division, I like 3 teams over them in that division. 3 teams over them in that division, in Milwaukee, Cleveland, and Indiana. And I think Chicago and Detroit could be better than them, but I won't say definitely. And in the Southeast Division, I like Miami and Orlando over them. So that is 8 teams. And definitely Atlanta, Chicago, Detroit, Charlotte could be better than Toronto. So I do not think that they make or secure a top 6 seed. RJ Barrett making an All-Star game, I don't hate the hot take. I think the Raptors are going to be bad where they will maybe get 1 All-Star. They're definitely not going to get multiple. I'm very high on Emmanuel quickly next year, but RJ Barrett was great in the small sample size of 32 games that we saw him after he got traded to the Toronto Raptors, where his efficiency went up, the scoring went up, the confidence went up, the playmaking went up, the physicality went up. And my thing with RJ Barrett was, like throughout the time in New York, if he could be more efficient at the rim, he has no issue with getting great looks at the rim, getting by defenders, getting open looks within 2 feet of the basket. But this dude cannot finish with contact. He just kind of blows a lot of layups at times. And if RJ can put that together, this dude can actually average 25 points per game. I don't think he's an all-star because I do think if they get 1 all-star, it'll probably be Scottie Barnes. But honestly, I don't think they're a top 6 seed. But you know what? That is a hot take that he's an all-star, so I like it. And he says the Clippers win 45 to 50 games. What was their over-under? It was around 41.5. I mean, everything needs to go right for them this year, which means Kawhi Leonard can't get hurt. Maybe James Harden keeps them afloat. They have solid role players on this team, but I really think you need somebody like Cam Christie or Jordan Miller. I don't think Trendon Flowers on the 2-way. Maybe Amir Coffey, Bones Highland, Terrence Mann. Like, somebody's got to take a step on this team, and maybe we will see that opportunity with Paul George no longer there, but I'm just not really buying that take. Zoe says Scottie Barnes makes All-NBA 3rd team. If I had to say yes or no, I would say no, but there's a chance Scottie makes it. The only reason I think that's going to hold him back is I don't think that the Raptors are going to be good, and usually the guys that make All-NBA team are on winning teams. Like if we pull up last season's All-NBA roster, everybody here at least made the play-in tournament. So yeah, like Curry made the play-in tournament, and he was the only person here that didn't make the playoffs because you have Jokic on first team, Giannis, Tatum, Luka, Shea, all those guys made the playoffs. AD, Lakers made it, KD, Kawhi, Brunson, and everybody on second team made it. So yeah, you had LeBron, Sabonis, Booker, Steph, and Halliburton on third team. Everybody at least made the play-in tournament because the Warriors did get knocked out. And I don't think the Raptors get there, so therefore I do not think that Scottie Barnes will make an All-NBA team next year. The ones I'm skipping over to are the ones I've kind of talked about in the video, like I talked about the Miami Heat. So I probably won't talk about like another Raptors one as well. I want to kind of hit every team. Joel Ruffin says Spurs will make the playoffs and result in Wemby being considered a serious contender for MVP. A lot of people are high on the Spurs this year, man. I don't think they're a playoff team. I don't think they're a play-in tournament team either. Like if I'm looking at the teams in the Western Conference that I think are better than the Spurs, I like Minnesota, Oklahoma City, Denver. That's minimum 3. I like kind of every team in the Pacific Division over them, so that's 8. And then I basically like every team in the Southwest Division over them. That's obviously not the Spurs. So that means maybe they're better than Portland. Maybe they're better than Utah. Now, there's going to be injuries this year. Maybe Curry gets hurt. Maybe Kawhi gets hurt. Maybe LeBron. Like, you never know with injuries, and teams will underperform in that aspect. I just didn't really love the Spurs offseason. Like, I liked a ton of other offseasons, and they didn't need to make any crazy moves because you're going to have that jump from Wemby. I love them getting Chris Paul. I like Stephon Castle, but I just don't know about Harrison Barnes, if that's going to make you better. That could make you worse. And the Western Conference is really good, so I don't know. I don't think Wemby's going to be an MVP candidate. It will be interesting if they win like 32 games and he has an even better season. Could he get some All-NBA love? I just talked about if you're not a play-in tournament team, can you do that? We'll see. I think Wemby's going to be the true test to that this season. And I'm excited to see, but I'm going to sell both those takes. Not an OKC fan says that the Charlotte Hornets will be the 6th seed in the Eastern Conference. Once again, I think that's too high for Charlotte. I think Charlotte could flirt in and be maybe the 9th seed or the 10th seed. I just don't see how they're better than Miami, Indiana, Orlando, Cleveland, Milwaukee, New York, Boston, and Philly. I just think those are the teams that are going to be there. The 8 playoff teams that were in the playoffs last year, I think they repeat them in the Eastern Conference this year. I don't think Atlanta gets in. Charlotte, like 6th seed is tough, man. What was the 6th seed last year? Like the 6th seed last year in the Eastern Conference, they ended up winning, let's see, the Pacers, and they won 47 games. The Hornets are not winning 47 games next year, I don't think. They won 21 last year. I know we're going to get a healthy LaMelo, but them going to win 26 games this year, I don't see that happening. But I do think they could be a play-in tournament team for the first time since the 2022 season. Frazier says kind of a similar thing. Hornets will make the play-in in advance of the first round. I think they can make the play-in. I just don't think they beat either it's Miami or we'll see who's the 7th or 8th seed. But it would be, there's going to be some disappointing exits this year. There definitely will be going forward. So next up you have, we already kind of talked about, well, AD got next, the opposite of the Wemby take. Wemby not making the year 2 leap we're all expecting. I mean, it's possible. I mean, I think everything's there for Wemby, and I like them adding a true point guard in Chris Paul, where I think we're going to see a year 2 jump. But what's your year 2 jump for him? Does he go from 21.5 points to 23? I'm fine with that. I'm not expecting him to average 27 points per game next year. If he averages 11 rebounds from 10.5, I'm fine with that. I think the big thing for him is just let's cut down on the turnovers a little bit. 3.7 as a rookie. Let's cut those down. He was actually pretty good in foul trouble. And let's see if he can hit a couple more threes. But he was really good throughout, the months of February, March, and April last year, like from 3. He ended up shooting, it was 41% in February, 31% in March, okay, 34% in April. So let's see. I don't need him to shoot 41% from 3. That's going to be very hard to ask for. Can you shoot 36%? Can you go from 32.5 to 36? I'd like to see that. Moose says Mikal Bridges will make an all-defensive team. I kind of like this hot take. I could definitely buy this because Mikal Bridges finished, I believe, runner-up in the... I'm sorry, I'm getting off topic here. But yeah, no, I messed up my tabs. But yeah, Mikal Bridges finished runner-up in Defensive Player of the Year voting in 2022. That was 2 years ago, but he was 25 then. He's 27, 28 now. That's not too much older. He's going to be actually 28 the moment I'm recording this tomorrow. But yeah, he was all defensive first team, Defensive Player of the Year, runner-up, and he's going to be kind of in that role again. He doesn't need to be this ball-dominant guy that he was in Brooklyn this past season, and he can really focus on the defensive side of the ball, and I think that's where Mikal Bridges is going to excel at this season as a secondary shot creator for sure. I think he can average 16, 17 points per game, but we're going to get, I think, all defensive caliber defense. So I think I could buy into that take, and I'm very excited to see him with OG and Anunoby. Chris Riley says Knicks are winning it all over the Wolves. I mean, I would love that. It's a hot take. Bulls finish as a top 5 seed in the East, Just Picks. I'm definitely selling that. I'm not even going to try to look at the bright side there. The Bulls are not finishing as a top 5 seed. Chris Goetz says that Giannis wins MVP and the Cavs have 3 All-Stars. I kind of talked about it before. The Cavs, I mean, maybe. I mean, Jared Allen got some love and consideration last year. Allen didn't get in, right, to the All-Star game last year? Because obviously Donovan Mitchell got in. No, he didn't get in to the All-Star game. So I think it will be tough, especially with, like, LaMelo coming back fully healthy. There's, like, I mean, Randall was an All-Star. I mean, you got Paul George now in the East. I think it's going to be tough for the Cavs to have 3 All-Stars. Giannis MVP, I'm going to actually sprinkle on that preseason bet myself. I think Giannis can win the MVP award this year. Let's see. 2-4-1, he says Shea MVP and Finals MVP. I mean, those could go hand in hand. I mean, well, if the Thunder win it all, Shea is going to be the favorite to win Finals MVP. And Shea finished runner-up in MVP last year. So that's not really a hot take whatsoever. That space, Giannis will demand a trade. Okay, well, I don't believe that's happening. Virgil Hawkins says, my coworker said these the other day. Warriors get back to the Western Conference Finals. I mean, I could buy into it, but I think they need another reliable scoring option. And if Jonathan Kuminga doesn't step up as that guy, I think they need to make a move this year, which is going to be tough to do because that was supposed to happen this past offseason. Maybe there's still an Ingram trade available. You missed out on Lowry Markkanen. You missed out on Paul George. Maybe Jimmy Butler becomes available, and you could do like Wiggins and Kuminga for Jimmy, and the Heat are like, you know, we're going to lose Jimmy for nothing. We might as well do this. I don't know. I'm just spewing stuff right now. I think they need somebody else, and they need to get kind of lucky with their playoff seeding. Like, say the Kings have an incredible regular season and are the 2 seed, and Golden State makes it as the 7th seed out of the play-in tournament, which is tough enough. I think maybe that could align them to maybe go to round 2 and then say they get lucky and they get like Phoenix in round 2, or maybe it's Dallas and they match up well against Dallas. I don't know, but they need to get lucky with their playoff seeding. He also mentioned Swipa or Darius Garland gets traded in the offseason. I mean, if the Cavs are a first-round exit, 100%. I mean, if the Kings miss the playoffs, and Fox is showing that he doesn't want to re-sign with them because I believe he is a free agent in the 2026 offseason, which is, yep, true. And he's not willing to sign an extension. That could also be on the cards as well. So, you know what? I kind of like that hot take. And the last one he said was Memphis is the number 1 seed in the West and Ja's an MVP candidate. If they are the 1 seed, he would be an MVP candidate. I wonder if it's going to take another year of like cohesion for this team, just because last year was such a disaster and they got to get a year to gel with each other with now Marcus Smart with that like full core this year. And we'll see how Zach Edey works out. I don't think Ja will be an MVP candidate and Memphis will be the 1 seed, but it is a hot take, so I respect it. Bree 1K says Jalen Green will be an MVP candidate. That's a hot take. I'm going to disagree with that. Is a lock for most improved. I mean, if he's an MVP candidate, he's probably in that most improved conversation, so those go hand in hand. Harden for 3 says the Rockets will be a top 6 seed and have the perfect roster. Well, if you have a perfect roster, you're probably the 1 seed. A lot of people were very high on the Rockets. I'm a little cautious about this team because they went 41-41 last year. They added Reed Shepherd this offseason, and Steven Adams will be fully healthy. I just wonder the room for growth. Now, I got to also realize this. I was low on the Oklahoma City Thunder last year, and I was like, when will this team take a jump? It might take another year. Maybe this team takes a jump this year, but I'm trying to figure out who the Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is on this team. Is it Şengün? Is it Jalen Green? I don't know. They have a ton of talent, and I think they could make the playoffs. I just can't see it being higher than the 6th seed. I think even in the 6th seed is you exceeding expectations. That was his hot take, but I'm struggling to see that happening. The Magic will make a conference finals run. That could definitely happen as well. I mean, the Orlando, that's from Breel 1K. Yeah, I think they could definitely make a conference finals run. I think they need to get a little bit lucky with their playoff seeding. They couldn't beat Cleveland last year. I don't think they match up well against any team outside of maybe Cleveland again or Miami. So yeah, like I said, they need to get lucky. I would be surprised though if the Magic made it to the conference finals. J.W. says Grizzlies 1 seed Ja MVP. Talked about that one already. Heat Life versus Jaime Jaquez averages 25-5 this season. What did Jaime average last year? What did he average? 14 last year? He averaged 11.9 last year, 3.8 rebounds, 2.6 assists. What do you say? 25-5 and 9-point jump. I mean, he would probably win most improved or be in that conversation, which I hate from sophomores. I don't think that happens because you got Rozier in the scoring mix, you got Hero, you got Jimmy. If somebody gets hurt, maybe I could see Jaquez averaging 14, 15 a night. 20 is too much. Şengün makes his first All-Star appearance. That's from ZMR. Yeah, I mean, if the Rockets are good enough, they should get an All-Star this year. They didn't get one last year. And if Şengün's putting up 21 and 10 at the All-Star voting time frame, he should be an All-Star and get his first. Matto the Cato says, does this person... Okay, yeah. So he says, Ja Morant takes a step back, and the Grizzlies bottom out in the West. Well, what does a Ja Morant step back looks like? I don't know if I'm buying that. I don't know if I'm buying that. So I think Ja is going to be just fine. Is he going to be what he was in as a most improved player as a 22-year-old and finish 7th in MVP voting? Probably not. It may take another year to get to that level, but I don't think they're going to bottom out whatsoever. That team is very deep. We got from George here, Jalen Duren and Cade Cunningham become all-stars, and the Pistons secure a top 6 seed. Okay. I think Cade could be an all-star this year. I definitely do. I think Cade's going to put up the numbers. Will they be bad enough where it will matter? I don't know, but Cade did put up 22.7 points last year. It's been going up every single year. Obviously, year 2, though, he only appeared in 12 games, but I'm a big fan of Cade. You guys know that. I've been saying, even through the darkest times of the Pistons, that he would still be the number 1 pick in a redraft, in my opinion. I think he could be an all-star. Jalen Duren, no. He needs to work on his defense. I'd rather Jalen Duren take his offensive numbers back. I'm cool with him averaging 10 points next year if he's going to improve his defensive anchoring, because I think there's some big question marks, but he's still incredibly young, and I'm still incredibly excited about Jalen Duren long-term, but I don't think he's an all-star next year in the slightest. I mean, it's a hot take, so I can't say, oh, this is a crazy one. I mean, it is kind of crazy. Pistons top 6 seed, I'm not seeing that. I'm not seeing that. Xander says Chris Middleton and Brook Lopez continue to fall off. Bucks become a play-in team behind the Pacers, Cavs, and Magic. You know what? This is one that I think could definitely happen. I mean, they have Giannis, so it's tough to think this is going to happen. And Giannis is what, 30 years old? Giannis is 29. He'll be 30 years old around when the season starts. Yeah, I mean, it's possible, man. It is. If Giannis gets one injury and Dame is just not what he's going to be in Portland, this could definitely happen. And Brook Lopez is getting up there in age, and Middleton's getting up there in age. That is a possibility that the Bucks are disappointing and are a 7th seed because they were not good with Doc Rivers as their head coach. That could definitely happen. So I don't hate this hot take. Would I bet on it? No, but that's what makes it a hot take, and I do like it from Xander here. All right, we're back here, and Ruben has one for the Atlanta Hawks. Zachary Risachet averages 19 plus points per game and is 45, 39, 78 splits. I don't know how I feel about that. I do think 19 plus is a little high. I think he's probably going to average more in the 10, 11, 12 range, which I know is kind of underwhelming for a number 1 pick. But if he shoots 45, 39, 78, you definitely take that. I think if you're going to get elite, 39%, if that's on good volume, that's elite 3-point shooting. I'm definitely taking that for Risachet as a rookie. So that's a hot take for the 19 points per game, but I don't think the splits are crazy. Maybe a little bit lower from the field from 45 to 42. Last of you says Tyrese Haliburton will lead the Pacers to back to the best offense in the league and will have a better season than last year. Last year, the Indiana Pacers didn't have Siakam throughout the full year, and their defense got better with Siakam in the second half of the year, too. I wonder if they would sacrifice. I mean, they were the 2nd-ranked offense. They were the 24th-ranked defense. I wonder if they would sacrifice some of that offense for just a little bit of improvement in defense. Would you rather be the 7th-ranked offense team and the 15th-ranked defensive team than 2 and 24? But hey, their high-powered offense got them to a series win over the Bucks, a series win over the Knicks, and a very competitive sweep without Haliburton in some of those games in the conference finals against the Celtics. So I think they're definitely okay with being where they are right now. And I think they could be the best offense in the league. So I guess in terms of offensive rating, they weren't the best offense in the league. I guess I forget who it was last year. Was it the Celtics or was it the Dallas Mavericks? I am forgetting it off the top of my head, but good thing I know where to pull it up. Last year, the best offensive team in terms of offensive rating, it was the Boston Celtics. And were they the best defensive rating too? They had the 3rd best defensive rating. Okay, was just carries there. So Jared McCain says the Hornets will finish above the Heat and in a play-in spot. Brandon Miller and LaMelo Ball will be an amazing duo, and he says he's very high on the Hornets this year. I think Brandon Miller and LaMelo Ball will be an amazing duo, and I do think the Hornets can finish in a play-in spot, but I don't think that they will finish above the Miami Heat. Chris mentions that Klay is going to win 6th Man of the Year, and I wonder if Klay will come off the bench or just... I don't know, though. I think he's going to start at the 3 unless there's some struggles to the year, and then he does what he did in Golden State this past year and moves to the bench. That could definitely be a possibility as well. He did average, I don't know, he would, I think, win 6th Man of the Year. Last year, he averaged 18 points in 77 games, and coming off the bench, his numbers actually kind of went up a little bit, too. So I do think there is optimism for Klay in an off-the-bench role. If you look at him... as a starter, he averaged 17 points and shot 42, 37, 92 splits, but his numbers went up 3 less minutes off the bench, but he averaged more points, 20 points per game, 46% from the field, 42% from 3, 96% from the line, in 14 games off the bench. Not the largest sample size, but I think that could be a nice role for Klay. I wonder who they would just opt to start over Klay. I mean, I'm a big fan of Quentin Grimes still. I think he could be a really good 3-and-D piece. I like Najee Marshall in this league. I'm excited about the Mavericks because they should be a deep enough team next year to withstand some injuries. RMS says that the Sixers will finish with the best record in the NBA. Also possible as well, because last year when Joel Embiid played, they were one of the best teams in the league. He came back in the regular season and I don't think lost a single game with him when he came back from his injury. Maybe they lost one down the end of the stretch. They were one of the better teams in the league. And you obviously had Paul George this offseason. You bring back Kelly Oubre and Kyle Lowry, and you bring in Caleb Martin, you draft Jared McCain. This team actually is really good, though. It really is. It could definitely win the NBA Finals. I wonder if they'll sacrifice their team a little bit next year just to have everybody healthy for the playoffs, and they're okay being a 4 or 5 seed in the Eastern Conference. But they definitely have a chance to be the 1 seed in the East. They were the 1 seed back in the 21 season with 49 wins. It was the shortened season. They did win 54 games in the 23 season. I think they finished second in the conference that year. 2023. That means they ended up losing to they lost to the Boston Celtics. They beat the Nets. I think they were the 3 seed actually that year because I think the Nets were the 6 seed. But I think that it is possible that the Sixers could definitely be the 1 seed in the East. Ethan says OKC and Dallas separate themselves as the 2 best teams in the West by 5 to 10 games from the field. All right, so I guess you're thinking maybe a little bit of a down year for Denver. I mean, they do lose KCP. Minnesota won 56 games last year. Dallas won 50 in the regular season. So do you think that they're going to finish 10 games better than Minnesota next year while Minnesota finished 6 games better than them this year? I think Dallas could definitely finish 5 games better than Phoenix and LA and every other team. Denver, though, too. Do you think Denver loses 7 less games and Dallas wins 7 more games? Like, do you think that's possible? That's a hot take. I like it, though. I like it. Obviously, OKC, I think that can happen. I think OKC could be a 60-win team this year. So Briel also says the Spurs will make the playoffs over the Pelicans. That's a hot take. That is a hot take. I'm going to disagree with that one. And then the Indiana Pacers will get the number 1 seed in the West, says Chris Phillips. I mean, it's possible, man. Like, they are built for the regular season. I thought so last year, but they were also built for the playoffs. I mean, this team is incredibly deep, and I love Andrew Nembhard and what he became in the playoffs, and I think he's going to be phenomenal next year. And I think he could win Most Improved. We'll see about the opportunity. You have Jarvis Walker in the mix as well. You're going to have Benedict Mathurin healthy, and now a full year with Siakam. I like the Pacers, I think, odds of getting the 1 seed in the East somehow over the Philadelphia 76ers or the Milwaukee Bucks. And then Matt says the Blazers make the playoffs, not the play-in. So they're a top 6 seed. That is a hot take. I don't think that's going to happen. I'm sorry, man. Maybe you need another year or two. Maybe you need Cooper Flag. LeBron doesn't end the season as a Laker. Sheen Mean says, I don't think he's getting traded this year. LeBron for Jimmy Butler? No, I'm kidding. I don't think that's happening. Zion plays 75-plus games, top 4 seed in the West, and makes All-NBA first team, says Strawberry. Zion didn't make an All-NBA team last year, so we're going to have to see the increase in scoring go up a little bit to what he was in the sophomore year of his career, where he averaged 27 points. He was an All-Star that year. He was an All-Star in the 23 season, but only appearing in 29 games. That's crazy that you're an All-Star in just 29 games. What did Randall play last year? Because, I don't know. Isn't that a little premature to make him an All-Star? 29 games. Randall was an All-Star last year in 46 games because he played into January. That's just crazy that Zion played 29 games and was an all-star. But he was very good, and if he reverts back to that and plays 75-plus games, which something he hasn't done in his career, yeah, he could be an all-star for sure next year. I'm just trying to figure out any teams that I haven't talked about yet. Big Baller says James Harden gets traded to the Heat at the deadline for hero, salary filler, and some picks, while the Clippers finish 27-55. That would not be good because you do not own your first-round pick this year. That would not be good in the slightest. Taco says Suns win the title and sweep the Knicks in the finals 4-0. I mean, I would be maybe okay with that as a Knicks fan, just knowing we went to the NBA finals. The Suns sweeping the Knicks, it's a hot take. It's a hot take to say the Suns make it to the NBA finals, I think, at this point in their career. I'm trying to just go through any of these on my end here. The Nuggets, this from Eddie. The Nuggets are sitting in the play-in seeds going into the trade deadline and make a move for Tower Hero or Darius Garland. Well, I don't know how you're matching salary for Tower Hero if you're not moving Murray, Porter, Gordon, or Jokic. And for Garland, same thing, but you have Jamal Murray. I mean, that is crazy. That is crazy. Detroit basketball will make the playoffs and out of the play-in, Intrigue Pistons fan says. I would be happy for Pistons fans if that happened, but I think you may need to wait a year. But I think that 9th and 10th spot, like, they're open this year. The Bulls should be worse. The Hawks should be worse. Those spots are open for the Hornets to maybe make a jump, and the Pistons to maybe make a jump, and the Raptors as well to take those playing tournament spots for sure. So I'm trying to just figure out if I talked about every team so far in this video. Maybe have I talked about the Jazz? No one's giving me any Jazz hot takes I'm noticing on my end. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's going to be it for me. I hope you guys did enjoy this hot take video. I mean, I got a ton, so I got to talk about basketball a ton with you guys for like the last 25 or so minutes. And if you guys do enjoy this, you can let me know either on Twitter if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or let me know in the YouTube comments if you guys did enjoy this. And I'll do maybe another part 2. I got maybe another 200 takes to react to, so we can definitely do that. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.